It's not all wine and roses out here. And that is why some people don't want to escape the matrix. They don't want to get out of the system. And you know what? I don't blame them. Again, it's not all wine and roses out here. The problem is, the challenge is that many people are facing, especially now as we hear about more layoffs and in the public sector and the private sector. And inflation keeps rolling. And a lot of other entities in our society, in the system that we live in, keep wanting a piece of us, right? Prices are going to go up. It's like a feeding frenzy in many ways. Insurance, healthcare, housing costs, food costs. All of us, we're surrounded by for lack of a better word, sharks feeding, right? And sometimes it feels like they're feeding on us, but really what it is in the system in which we live, I call it a beast system. It's not all negative. It's not all bad. The reason I call it that, by the way, is because in the beast system, everything's about money. Most things are about money. You're rarely going to find someone to go up to and get them to give you something valuable, their product or service or experience or knowledge or expertise, for free, because they need money as well. In the beast system, you need money. Ken O'Keefe talks about this. The world is the way that it is because it's governed by finance, right? If people didn't need money, there wouldn't be corruption, wouldn't be collusion, wouldn't be fraud and deceit and deception and lies, because there'd be no reason to, if money was not the driving factor for most people in the world. Now, let's be real. Some people, a very small percentage, are living off grid, putting sweat equity in. That takes an enormous amount of time, money, and, well, time and money up front. Definitely enormous amount of energy. It's possible. I watch a lot of people do it, right? But it's not practical for most people. What is practical for most people is to unlearn what they've learned from the system and relearn how to be a human being, how to be a creator like God created us to be. Again, that comes with its own challenges. Primarily, the question is, do you want to unlearn what you've learned about yourself and the world and the way things work in the world? Do you want to unlearn that? Some people don't. Some people, they maybe want the result of unlearning that, which is freedom, or a better degree of freedom from the system, right? Removing yourself as much as possible. There's a high probability, and I tend to believe this, that it is nearly impossible to remove yourself 100% from the beast system. Healthcare, financial, education if you have children, media, political. I mean, we live in all of these layers upon layers of systems, and it's virtually impossible to remove yourself from all of them. In fact, not impossible. Let's say you pay your house off, you still pay property taxes and maintenance and care on your home. Let's say you live off grid. You could have a natural disaster happen, a fire, a flood, something like that. You could, any myriad of things could happen. Something could happen to you, like in a fallen world, which I now believe this is, in a fallen world, things happen. But the goal is to prepare yourself as much as possible for those things, and maybe think ahead as much as possible to go, you know what? I'm going to mitigate this risk factor as much as possible. Let me give you a couple practical examples. Let's talk about the Great Depression. In the Great Depression, people who didn't have their money in banks and had their money invested in places outside of banks and or tools or knowledge or assets fared better than those who were more plugged into the beast system. You see what I'm saying? Let's use another example. Let's see. If you, I call it buying out of the system. Cashing out of the system to the degree that you can. I know we talk about a little bit about that cashing out, but what I really want to focus on in this video is the idea of the fact that if you do choose to cut yourself away and extricate yourself from the system, jaws of lifestyle, it is going to be a little bit unpleasant, but you got to know the rewards at the end, the payoff at the end. And my point is this: while it is challenging, many people have no choice. Many people now have no choice but to turn within, to look at themselves and know themselves and go, you know what? The system that I was plugged into for my money, for my health care, for my children's education, for many things, is collapsing. It's not working anymore. It's been corrupted. There's a ghost in the machine. There's a bug in the machine. It's buggy. And I think it was deliberately designed to be buggy for this reason, to spin people off. Because many people will be gobbled up by the fact that the system is broken down. See, again, this can sometimes get into conspiracy theories, but it's not a conspiracy theory for me. If the leaders who have been running and managing our systems for decades haven't done a great job, in which case the systems break down, we know that's a leadership problem. What they'll tell you is, oh, it's complicated. Oh, we're doing the best we can. No, I don't accept that, because as a leader myself, I take full responsibility for my life. And as successful leaders take full responsibility for their lives. Leaders in government don't take full responsibility because it's past the buck. It's his problem. It's their problem. It's Anthony Fauci's problem. He's our patsy. He's our fall guy. It's Joe Biden's problem. He's the patsy. He's the fall guy. It's Donald Trump's problem. He's the patsy. He's the fall guy. What that does is it makes the left look at the right and say it's your problem. It makes the right look at the left and say it's your problem. And it makes very few people, unless you are awake to the bullshit, look to the people running our world. And I'm not talking about politicians. I'm talking about the people the politicians work for, and say, hey, you're messing with the system deliberately. Cloward Piven, inundate a system so much that it collapses. Overwhelm the system so much that it collapses. Why would they want to do that? They want to build a better system. Build back better. The better built system is more surveillance for all of humanity, more control of all of humanity, central bank digital currencies, VACCINE passports. What's the third one? Digital IDs. They want more control of you. Donald Trump talks about it. He says he wants a biometric entry-exit visa tracking system at the border. He said this in his first term, planting the seeds in the consciousness of Americans to go, you know what? Yeah, we do need that because we've got bad guys and bad girls coming across the border. Hegelian dialectic, the border that they opened. See, the government, my government, is supposed to manage the border. Why weren't they managing the border? Well, the reason they weren't managing the border was because these people were seeking amnesty. We have to let them in. We're compassionate. See, they gamed the left, because at that time it was Biden that opened the border. Trump was like, no one's coming through the border. Trump was good cop. Biden was bad cop. The agenda was set forth by the people they work for, and say, bad cop will open the border. Good cop will say we're mad about the border, and he'll rally the right and say we've got to get the left out of here. The right will give Donald Trump all the power. The left will give Biden the power. You see, it's just this dynamic thing. There's the illusion of people in power, of we the people have power. Donald Trump appeals to the right because he says he's going to do all these things. Some of them never get done. What does get done is a lot of executive orders. See, I'm not down with executive orders, and they've been widely overused. Most people on both sides agree with this. The left uses them, the right uses them. I believe it was an executive order. Joe Biden mandated the thing. I get it confused with what he did with OSHA, trying to get companies of up to a certain number to mandate. All bullshit. It's bullshit. If people don't see that they're deliberately throwing sand in the machine of our society and humanity, I commend those people, because their cognitive dissonance is very, very high, and that takes an enormous amount of brain power. And by the way, that power comes from your body. If you still believe these people work for you, that you are drawing energy from your being in order to support a lie, because lies, to activate a lie in the consciousness of a human being that has been planted there by the system, is enormously power draining. It'll drain your life force. A much better way is to seek truth and only live truth. And then you free up an enormous amount of spiritual and physical and emotional energy to put into your creative endeavors. That is why I believe we're so sick in this world. We take an enormous amount of medication for psychosis, diseases of the mind and the body. Again, my belief is you're drawing your life force in order to prop up a lie that was put there by an a-hole. I'm trying not to cuss much anymore. Sometimes it's very necessary and cathartic, as you already know. Maybe. It's breaking down. So many people are realizing there's nothing left there for me. I might as well go down the hard path. It's not really a hard path. It's just a different experience. They've sold us comfort. They've sold us convenience. And I believe in many ways that is to weaken us, right? If you have a caged animal and you feed and water them every day, they're going to lose their killer instincts. Why do they need them? Why do they need to even have muscles or think for themselves? If we have our phones all around us and it's telling us what everything is, why do we need to use our brain? Well, if I was a diabolical bad guy, I would promote the phone and promote all these smart devices. Many people are waking up to the bullshit. I'm one of them. And I would use those smart devices to train people to not think, and their thinking brain would go real small. If you don't use it in life, you will lose it. Your brain, a muscle, whatever, speaking, moving, any part of your body, if you don't use it, it'll wither away and go away. And that's, I believe, what their ultimate agenda is. They don't want, Klaus Schwab even said he foresees a time when we don't even have to vote anymore, because the system will be so smart that it'll do the right thing by humanity. Right. That's rich. That is rich. Don't worry about it. Even Donald Trump said it in one of his little sly speaking mannerisms. He's like, Christians, come and vote for me this time and you won't have to vote anymore. Something to that effect. I was like, all right. Right. So while it's not easy all the time, it is worth it. Simply for survival. Again, I'm not asking people to go live out in the desert and build a homestead. That is very, very rare. It's a very rare person that can do that. Not only from a practicality standpoint, acquiring the skills and knowledge, but also from a human connection standpoint. I love to be connected to other human beings. I don't do well in isolation. I could do isolation if I was forced to, if the authoritarian, totalitarian figures that run our world came and said, hey, if you don't sign up to the system we're creating for you, this total surveillance state, if you don't allow us to watch you every second of the day, we're going to put you in solitary confinement for life. I'd be like, I'll take the confinement. I wouldn't have to think of it for a moment, because I won't live in their world. I will not live in their world. I won't participate in their bullshit, because I know what it is now. I didn't used to know what it is. Once you know what it is, you can't go back. What is seen cannot be unseen. What is known cannot be unknown. It is what it is at this point. So my only way forward is out. And my invitation to you is, I'll show you how far I can take you at this point. The further I get out, the further I can take you out. You know, there you go. There's my piece. If you want to learn more, go pick up my free guide to help you find meaning and money, create meaning and money in your life using the talents God put inside of you, your unique insight, experience, perspective of the world, skill set, perception of the world, what's happened to you in life, what you've done in life, what you've created, where you've worked. You basically take the sweat equity you've put in to your life, because you put it in. And some of it was chosen by God, right? Depending on your aptitudes and your circumstances and your experience in life, some of it God chose and said, hey, these are lessons that you're going to learn really deeply. That's your golden egg right there, right? That's everyone's golden egg. And right now, see, here's the great ruse. As the beast system collapses, again, happened in 2008, happened in early 2000s, happened in, what was it, the early 90s? It happens frequently. I think it's going to get real bad this time because we're multiple things are converging. We're nearing or at, depending on who you ask. You ask people in the government, the currency's fine. We're good. You ask other people in the world, they're like, your currency is on life support. Currency collapses, that's a big problem. Or the dollar loses its dominance, that's a big problem. Some people believe, again, all speculation. Not really speculation. You can look at what's happened. I think it's Nigeria. Was it Nigeria? And also what happened in Argentina, maybe Venezuela. Maybe it's Venezuela. When their currency collapses, things get very expensive. And it's basically worthless. They use it for wallpaper. That's not a good scene. When currency collapses, or when inflationary, like hyperinflationary situations happens, the nest egg that people have built up goes down really, really, really fast. That's why I say it's vitally important, to the degree possible, to extricate yourself from the system, from all systems. Again, you got to make your own choices in life. And I'm just sharing knowledge and information with you about what I see, because I study this a lot. Go pick up the Great Awakening Guide, by the way, at greatawakeningguide.com. In there, because I know you're probably not going to sit and watch 50 documentaries. Although you might. I find it to be the best use of my time right now in 2025. I want to know what's going on. I want to watch The Great Taking by David Rogers Webb. I want to watch things by G. Edward Griffin, who's been predicting this for a long time. I want to watch documentaries in there about certain conflicts in our world to make sure that I know who the bad guys are. There's a quick start guide there with 3 of them. They are All Wars Are Banker Wars. That's fantastic. It's only an hour. They are, what's the third one or the second one? It's the Story of Israel, or there's the Story of Israel one in there. And the third one is, Everything is a Rich Man's Trick. Everything is a Rich Man's Trick. That's 3 hours. That's on YouTube. The reason that one's in there is because it will start you to thinking and seeing, or thinking from the mindset of everything is a rich man's trick. Again, in a fallen world where a few elite, they're not elite, let's rephrase that, where a few people, a few human beings who have made a choice, a conscious choice to undermine and surveil and usurp humanity for their own sick, twisted reasons. And if you're a Christian, you believe there's one guy at the top of the pyramid who influenced those people to do that. I tend to lean in that direction of late. I didn't used to. Where was I? Those few people that are running the system, when you think that way, it all makes sense. If you don't think that way, nothing makes sense. There's two ways to look at what government is doing. You've seen it. Hopefully you've seen it. The pyramid structure top down. Foster Graham talks about this in his documentary Thrive 1. Pyramid structure top down. You have finance at the top, and that one guy, if you're a Christian, he's running his cartel all the way down. His see, the power comes down; it doesn't come up. That's the illusion that they've sold humanity. Like, you're in charge, especially maybe not the rest of humanity. In America, that's the great grift. The great grift in America is we the people are in charge. The great lie and deception in America is we the people are in charge. Jones Plantation. If you haven't seen the trailer to that, go watch it. There's also a longer video on YouTube. It's from a while back. Jones Plantation. There's a new documentary. I've not seen it yet, but I've seen a number of clips, etc., from it, and I've seen the old Jones Plantation. I don't know where it was made. It's like black and white. It's a story. Basically, the takeaway is this. We're living on a plantation where we were told we're free. So we act free and we produce a lot more goods and services, productive output, GDP, for the people who own the plantation. Now, who owns the plantation? I don't know, because those people don't say, hey, I own the plantation that humanity is on, or most of humanity. Let's just say America to keep it easy. Remember, goes back to the Rothschilds. I believe my paper trail goes back there, and they're a banking family, and they realized, oh, if we lend to governments, we make a lot more money and we don't have to deal with the funny business. So they climbed the chain. They started lending to businesses, people in businesses, and then they realized, oh, it's so much easier to lend to governments. And there's a little side benefit there is we now, instead of just having money as a return, we can now have a return of anything we want. We want to create our own state and our own army. Just ask the government who is indebted to us for that opportunity. And then you get the Balfour Declaration. And the Balfour Declaration says here, you can have your own country. The Rothschilds have themselves stated that they are the founding fathers of Israel. Their picture is in the Supreme Court building of Israel. But because of the dumbing down of Americans, I didn't used to know it. How do you go through public education system and don't know the truth about the country that is trying to pull the world into WW3? How does that happen? It happens because of a calculating and sinister, diabolical person or group of people don't want you to know that information. Right? This is what I talked about earlier. Like, you got to unlearn what you learned to be a well-rounded person in the system, the slave system, and you got to relearn how to be a creator, a conscious creator, working for God. Because right now, all of us to a degree, and some more than others, are working for that dude. Again, I tend to believe that because COVID changed my perspective. You may not be there yet, and I want you to honor your opinion, and I ask you to honor mine, because that's what we need more of, is understanding each other's journey. Right? Because again, the system that we're in now wants us to do this and go, you know what, you're wrong. Because the system that we are in now says, if they're right, I'm wrong, and I don't want to be wrong, so I'm going to make them wrong. Manchurian Candidate type style. Like, we've been programmed, and this is where you see people that get offended and they get mad at you and will cease dialogue with you because you are threatening a belief, a deeply held belief that they have, and that doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good, right? Whereas a person that's on the truth path, they don't get offended. They go, do you know what? Tell me what you know. I want to hear what you know about that. A person that doesn't want to know the truth will never ask you for anything because they don't want to open up. They don't want even a crack in the doorway that could let the light of awareness come in, because let's be real. The system, the government and or religious systems that run our world, it can be, talk about being hard. Can you imagine? So let's talk about that for a moment. So the two systems, government and religion, that control people, it's probably easier to unshackle yourself from a government system. It's, in my experience. Then again, I've only been shackled by the government system. And even then, I've been on a simplification journey, minimalism, for 20 plus years. So for me, it's much more natural. For some people, it's not. You know, if you're paying, you know, driving a brand new car, paying for renting a luxury home outside of your means, you know, the luxury, maybe you're driving a luxury car too. If you have a lot of expenditures, if you're paying for all of the services from, you know, Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, all that stuff, you're buying a lot of things. If you buy a lot of things, that's the way they keep us enslaved. And I'm not saying we don't need things, but the more you buy, the more you're enslaved, because then you got to trade your time for hours at a higher rate or in more. You know, I mean, some people work in 3 and 4 jobs. If you have children, especially if you have a lot of children, that in a system like ours, that's a very expensive. That's why people aren't having, the rate of people having kids is going down. They just don't have the financial resources. And they're very stressed and sketched out by the system in general, because people see it collapsing. People see it breaking down and becoming, you know, it's either going to go full totalitarian, authoritarian, and we're all hosed, except for a few people that say, you know what, I'll help you run the system and manage these mofos. I won't ever work in a system where I'm helping to enslave my fellow human beings. That's why I want to help people escape from the system, right? And the irony is, you don't have to you can still do your work. You just have to get your resources and your funding from another person. Like if you're a lawyer, you unplug from your, let's say, law job that maybe is, you know, helping to enslave humanity. I don't, you know, fill in the blanks. And you start working to free humanity. If you're a nutritionist, you help people get healthier so they can feel better about themselves. If you're a doctor, you help people get healthier. Many doctors on YouTube, Motivational Doc, Dr. Eric Berg, nutritionist Bobby Parrish at Flav City. There's many doctors, Dr. Morse, Dr. Ken Berry is fantastic. These people are helping humanity by saying, hey, you might not need to be on the prescription that you get from the pharmaceutical company. Do you know you can do a lot with food and exercise? Some people are like, no, I didn't know that. I watch them all the time. My new journey is learning about supplementation, again, to extricate myself to the degree possible from the healthcare system. I don't want that. Not that there are all bad nurses and doctors in the healthcare system. There aren't. There's wonderful people in there. But it's very expensive. And also, when you go to someone in the healthcare system, there's a chance you could get hurt. And it wouldn't be intentional. The more you can control in your life, the better off you're going to be. Again, back to my point of this video. It's not always fun, but it's worth it. It's worth it, right? There's my piece. Go check out, you know, the free guide that I created to help you understand this topic a little better, and also help you do some brainstorming about how you can be more valuable to more people more often, again, using your unique experience in life. That's where it's going. I don't promise people you're going to, you know, find all the meaning in the world and all the money in the world. I can't make that promise. What I will promise is this. You will win no matter what. You'll win because you engage in that process, no matter whether people pay you for a product or service that you've created or experience that you've created. that they want or need. You will win. And the real truth is, when you become a winner in knowing yourself and understanding how the world works in a deeper, more meaningful, more profound way, you will become more valuable, and then people will want more from you, right? As you create products and services, you will become more valuable as you know yourself more, because in a world of conformity, individualism is valuable, right? In a world of conformity where the system is breaking down, and many people who are in the robotic mindset of, I get up, I go to work, I watch TV, I get up, I sleep, I get up, I go to work, I watch TV, or I consume certain things, I consume the food, I consume the movies, I consume the media, I consume the political speeches, I, get up, go to work, go to sleep, get up, go to, on the hamster wheel, in the rat race, going nowhere fast, surviving, not thriving. To a person in that situation, you show someone the way out, you are a guide to them, a much needed guide to them. Because also remember, it's not just the system. It's not just doing all those things. All those things lead to dependent on, when you're living out of alignment, you need dependent on pharmaceutical drugs, video games, pornography, movies, music that doesn't suit the soul. To play in that game, energy drinks. You've seen them out there. They get their energy drink on the way to work. They have one midday maybe and one on the way home just to get through that bullshit. That's living out of alignment, right? That's running the body too hot, high in sugar content, high in caffeine content. Weird. Why are our soda pop aisles and energy drink aisles growing, and while we're getting sicker? That doesn't compute. That's how the beast system works. It puts more fuel on the fire. Let's talk about fuel. Let's talk about the inflammation in most people's bodies from eating sugar and processed foods and seed oils and chemical flavor enhancers. Highly inflammatory body, you're going to burn out quicker. And people doing that because all those foods have been engineered in the laboratories to be addictive. Sugar's highly addictive. The combination of the sugars, the fats, and the carbs, I believe it is. Yes, the sugar, the fats, and the carbs. Fact check me on that. That triad is what these producers of these foods tweak with in order to make them very addictive. Taste, they trick our taste buds into believing this is like food from the gods, from heaven. But the reality is food from that other place. Food from the gods grows on trees that haven't been messed with by man, right? Let's be real. Mankind screws shit up. This is why when my government or other man-made organizations tell me they have a product or service that I really need, I'm like, you know what? I'm good. Because I've seen how mankind overfishes the seas. Mankind kills elephants and leaves the body and just takes the tusk. Mankind kills rhinoceroses and takes the horn. Mankind pollutes waterways, pollutes the air, misinforms children. I'm not saying mankind can't do good things too. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying the problems we have in our world that we're facing, extinction, pollution, the trash conglomeration in the Pacific Ocean. There's probably one in the Atlantic Ocean too. The trash island in that ocean. We did that shit. We did it. So why would I then be giddy and excited about AI that was also being created and has been created by us? AI repulses me. I don't watch those videos on YouTube, even though sometimes if it's good, I might not know it, but I keep a keen ear. I don't like listening to AI. It's not natural. See, again, the a-holes that are in charge of the world, they're not elite and they're not better than us. They've just decided to sell out humanity. Jesus Christ said it. Well, I don't know if he said it. It's in the Bible. What does it profit a man if he sells his soul but loses his immortal life? What do you get from that? Stupid, stupid gamble. You get wealth and riches here on earth. How long are you going to live? I don't know. Not long enough. But you get a desperate person who wants those things. A sick, twisted, demented person too. You have to be unwell to sell out your fellow human beings. You have to be unwell to game another human being, because when you game another human being, lying to them and deceiving them into doing something they wouldn't normally do, you lose too. But that's where money and sometimes drugs and alcohol can numb that feeling inside of a person. I'm assuming. I don't do this, so I don't know how it feels, but I also don't put my hand in fire, and I know how that feels. It burns and it hurts. And I see many people, let's take Hollywood, for instance, which is the propaganda machine of these people. You know, Plato said, those who tell stories rule the society. Who tells stories? Hollywood tells stories. And on some level, those people have to know they're telling bad stories in many cases. I'm not saying only bad stories come out of Hollywood, but let's be real. Dark, twisted, demented, promote promiscuity. And again, I'm no saint, and I have not been a saint in the past, but I see now what it is. Promote pornography, promote gambling, promote violence. I don't think anyone on earth would argue that Hollywood doesn't promote violence. Super violent. I don't watch that stuff anymore. Promote fear. Promote, again, they want to change perception. Those who tell stories rule the world or rule society. We know a few people want to rule society. A few demented people want to rule society. An awakened person, a person who is tapped into God, doesn't want to rule society, because all they want is for that person to be under the influence of God inside of them, or their inspired ideas, or under the influence of their own thinking, like their own critical thought. Like, how does, am I learning or growing? Do I want to be healthier, wealthier, more successful? Or do I want to not use my brain? Right? Thinking's hard. This is another reason people sometimes don't want to wake up, because if you wake up and start using critical thinking, it takes brain power. And because the education system didn't teach kids how to think critically, it's not designed for that. The rulers of our world don't want you thinking critically. When you think critically, you're going to ask questions. They don't want you asking questions. Do what you're told and you'll be fine. That was what happened during COVID. Take this medicine and you'll get your freedom back. Don't ask questions. If you asked questions during COVID, this is why it's so stupid and why their plan will never work. Because you can't tell people for 60 years, this is the short-sightedness of these creeps. You can't tell people for all of humanity that there's no stupid question and that you should always do your own homework and do your own research. Jimmy Dore has a fantastic clip about it. Like during COVID times, doing research was ridiculed. Like he said, if you told someone you were doing research, i.e. reading, they're going to ridicule you and go, oh, you're hilarious. You're one of those people. Well, why did that happen? Because the idea was inserted into the masses via the propaganda and media campaign, and the masses many people took it up and thought, yeah, you're silly if you're way silly if you're questioning it. You're way, way silly if you're researching it. Just do what our leaders tell us. Yikes. Do what the television tells us. Do what the politician tells us. Well, who pays for the television? That's not free. They're not doing television out of the kindness of their heart. Well, even public broadcast television, that's not free. Again, the same people that control public television control the politicians. If you know how the money flows into government and the enormous benefits to politicians, who many have, some have, you do whatever number you want, have sold out they're working for those people. Again, back to the pyramid. Foster Graham, the power comes down. Finance, money lenders, corporations, banks, politicians, police, and then us. The enforcement branch of the government, and then us. Humanity is at the bottom. And it's downward. The power is downward. Because money has power in this world, and the people who have the money at the top tell the people lower than them, here's the money, you do my bidding and make it look good. Sell it to the people at the bottom so they think you're incompetent so they don't revolt. That's the game. It's not hard to figure out once you see the game. I recently found the channel Unplug'em, UNPLUGGEM on YouTube. You should check it out. Fantastic. Brother Theo something. I forget his last name at the moment. But he said the reason they want to keep us ignorant is because it's harder to game a knowledgeable person, a wise person, a streetwise person. It's easy to game an ignorant person. And I have been and continue to be ignorant in many ways. I'm not judging because I'm that. I'm on the same journey as everyone else, awakening to the lies and deception in our world and what we really came here to do and who we really came here to be. We didn't come here to be a TSA officer. Are they keeping us safe? That's a question you need to ask for yourself. Or are they part of a control system? A cattle system to herd us along in little ways? Will any of the new border security that Trump wants to, I don't think he'll get it because people see the BS. Will any of that new, if you work at the biometric entry-exit visa tracking system, are you working for God or Satan? Are you keeping people safer or are you keeping them more surveilled? It all stops. All the BS stops when everyone stands up. If no one stands up, it won't ever stop. If we stand up in mass and in unison, nothing they do will work. Everything they do is designed to deceive us and trick us. Everything is a rich man's trick, and trick us into doing what they want us to do. Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution. They create a problem to cause a reaction so that we'll beg for a solution that they've already designed in the first place. But in order to herd humanity down a path into bullshit and trick them, because we do have some level of critical thinking, where the goal is to cultivate a deep level of critical thinking and also a deep level of knowledge about the world. Removing yourself from government control systems and religious control systems. If you are continually looking outward for someone to tell you what to do and think, your thinking ability will wither on the vine. And when that happens, you are in grave danger. And if you have children, your children are in grave danger. Again, government and religion. All you have to do is look at history. Who has hosed over human beings more than government and religion in human history? I don't care what serial killer has done what in history. They don't come near to the diabolical deeds government and religion has done to human beings. That's why I stay as far away from those two groups as I can. It's preservation for me. Again, when you know, what is seen cannot be unseen. And also, just because they're not doing it to me now doesn't mean they won't do it to me in the future. Because I know how a person treats one person is how they treat all people. How they do one thing is how they do all things. If they're dropping bombs on women and little kids and 52-year-old men in another country, they'll drop a bomb on women and little kids and 52-year-old men in this country. I'd bet my life on it. I'll go all in on that because I know how a person is how a person is. How a group of people are is how a group of people are. Some people haven't learned that yet. I didn't used to know it. Again, COVID woke me up to a lot of the BS. But it probably was because for 20 years prior, I was walking the path to truth. Because I set the conscious intention that I want the wisdom of 1,000,000 lifetimes. If you don't set a conscious intention for something, it's never going to happen. If you don't wake up and speaking of one life, if you don't wake up and set the conscious intention to be a winner in the game of life, and P.S. you can win life no matter what you look like or feel like or your past or what you've done, you can always reach in and open up the blueprint that God gave you for your life mission and say, you know what, I'm going to start walking it. But the first step is you got to think of yourself as a winner. You'll never win life if you don't think of yourself as a winner. Identity. That's why the main core practice in One Life is changing your identity. The story you tell yourself, the I am practice every day. You've got to override the program you have been running for maybe years, maybe decades, maybe a whole lifetime. It's not impossible. It's very possible. It's very possible. My whole goal with One Life is to give you a quick start so that you see radical changes very quickly, because then you're going to be hooked. The moment you do this work, it may take a few days, it may take a few weeks. Sometimes it can take instantaneously. This is why people ask me, is One Life a course? It's not a course. It's a system. And with a system, you start anywhere, anytime, anyway. You take the system that I've created and you start, and you could see results within the day, within the hour. I guarantee you will feel better. And P.S., that's the other secret. When you feel better, you're going to perform better. You're going to have better results. And when you feel better about yourself and who you are and what you've done, the whole world wants you to poo-poo your experience, wants you to poo-poo who you are. The devil loves to sow fear and doubt and discouragement. That's his whole game plan, because if the devil can derail you long enough, he wins by default. If the devil derails you for your whole life and you never once put your talking about biometric scans, put your fingerprint on the suitcase God gave you when you came into this world, you never open it and look at the blueprint and go, wow, there's my whole life planned out, written right out for me here, that's exciting and scary at the same time, sweet and sour at the same time. I guess it's not a great example, but it is. That's how you know you're on the right path, is you are super excited about it, but you're also super scared about it because it's such a monumental endeavor, and you're like, holy crap, can I really do this? At the same time, the other voice in your head, God's voice, says, yeah, you were actually built to do this. I designed you to do this. I forget where I was going with that. Yeah, you open the suitcase and you get your, blueprint. That's why what's happened over the last number of years and what's happening now with the falling down of the beast system, that's why it's a blessing and a curse. It's what drove me. I'm not saying, I drove to I went back to Christianity. I wasn't prior. But I'm not saying that's the bee's knees. I'm not saying that's the thing, because again, I don't want to get myself caught up into a deception that is perpetrated by religion. Because remember, if deception is the name of the game and power and religion are the two control mechanisms, I'm not naive enough to go, oh, well, if I just pick the best religion or the best religion, I'll be fine. I know better than that. Because, again, like I said earlier, I'm skeptical of human beings that aren't in alignment with God. And in a fallen world, generally, a person in a position of high power and influence is not in alignment with God because money runs this world. You're going to find more of those people at the bottom end of the spectrum doing God's work. The higher up the spectrum, the more the system's going to go, oh, we see someone who's because they're checking for bugs in their machine too. The beast system's looking for bugs too. If you're not working for the beast system and you're trying to undermine the beast system, you are out. If you are an entertainer and you're preaching the true, you're preaching to people to, do God's work and be, like God, and you're not going to get far up into the system without you being weeded out, because they'll fire you because you're not working for them. You're either working for the God or the devil in this world. You're either working to enslave people mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, or free people and or heal people. Let's break it down there. You're either working to make people sicker and more dependent on the system, or healthier and less dependent on the system. You're either working to enslave people or free people. You're either working to help people be more prosperous or help them to be more poor so that they're more dependent on the system. The more on your knees you are, the more enslaved by the system you will be. So again, cutting those cords, material possessions, education system, healthcare system, becoming as healthy as you can in your own sphere, right? In your own sphere, eating healthy food, walking, running, breathing healthy air, those kind of things. Anyway, there's my piece. I hope that you will choose to just embark on the journey and walk it to the degree that you're comfortable with. I'm not saying you got to go all the way in the first week. That's the recipe for burnout and disaster. Just start being more conscious of it. If you have a lot of clutter in your life, start giving away a few things that you don't need. Free up your mental, to free your physical space and your mental space. If you have a lot of payments in your life that you're not using, like maybe a gym membership or an entertainment membership, remember that all a person really needs is free on YouTube and or social media. If you're still watching some of the shows that are coming out on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime that are dystopian and dark and kind of demented, let's be real, that promote fear, I don't care from what studio it comes from. In your heart of hearts, using your discernment when you look at something, even if it's from Angel Studios, even if it's from a supposed awakened studio, whether it's nourishing you or depleting you, whether it's making you more courageous or more fearful, it, or whether it's simply distracting you from doing your mission in the world. Remember, the devil doesn't have to unalive you. He just has to distract you for your whole life, and he wins. And you never do the thing you came here to do. That's how sinister it is. And I'm not a fighter, but I do watch these things. In fighting, if you deflect a punch by this much, you still deflected the punch. If you cause a person to not shoot to not fire their primary weapon, being your primary weapon being, shed all the bullshit and become the person that God designed you or created you to be, become the person you were meant to be, do the thing you came here to do in the world. If you cause a person not to do that, the devil, that's when the devil wins. And the devil, you call the devil whatever you want. Stephen Pressfield calls it resistance, right? If you don't do your thing in the world, the thing that you came here to do, his thing clearly was telling stories and writing books and sharing knowledge and information. If you don't do the thing you came here to do in the world, you lose God loses, the angels that walks over you lose. It's called The Artist's Life. It's in the back of The War of Art, the book Stephen Pressfield wrote. It's a 1.5 page essay, The Artist's Life. And it's one of the tools that I use all the time on my own journey inside of One Life, a strategy and a tactic that I use, a technique, a tool to fix my thinking so that I can do my work in the world. Because like Louise Hay said, again, I know Louise Hay is from the New Age movement, and I believe now that many aspects of the New Age movement, remember, the devil weaves an intricate web, weaves truth with lies to a degree so that we tend to, he's trying to get us a little bit, all he has to do is make us miss the mark for life and we're done. The problem with the New Age movement is it makes us the focus of attention, which we are to a degree, where we can choose our thinking, we can choose other things. But what happens then is we think we're more powerful than God and or the devil. And the devil loves that, right? The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing people he didn't exist. And I think the second greatest trick the devil ever pulled is convincing people that they can stop his BS by thinking love and light. Like, if I was an evil, diabolical person, I would go, hey, you know what? I'm making moves in the physical world and using money to influence people to pass laws and or do things that will literally enslave you. But I'm going to tell you that you can do it all in your mind. And you don't have to take action in the physical world. You can make a vision board of the life you want, and you can do it all in your mind. Think and grow rich. I wrote on my copy, think and act and grow rich, because I didn't do that till 10, 15 years after I'd had it, by the way, as my own understanding came into fruition. Again, you're not going to know how to win life unless you start playing the game of life. And once you play the game of life for a while, you're like, oh, I actually have to turn some ideas into things. I have to turn these thoughts into things. I can't just leave them in the thought data bank. I actually have to do things. I have to take action. This is why action is the game. Execution is the game. Ideation is not the game. Ideation is easy. I got this great idea. That takes no effort, because ideas are all around us. Thomas Edison said they're in the ether. They come to us all the time. You got to wrangle it, corral it, tie it up, and build it. Like, you got to build it. Do the thing. Write the book. Create the thing. Invent the thing. Anyway, there's my piece. Go check them out. My website's gmarkphillips.com. There's information in the description down below about the things I've been talking about in this video if you're interested in something like that. I'll talk to you in the next one. Until next time, I wish you all the best health, wealth, and success. Bye-bye.